Can you believe we're at the end of 2024 already? I mean, wow, this year just flew by, right? Whether you're squeezing in a quick listen while you're wrapping up gifts or dodging relatives at a holiday gathering, or, just trying to get some you time. I'm so glad that you're here with me today. Seriously, thank you. Thank you for making this a part of your day. At the start of this year, I had let me take that back. Not at the start of this year. Actually, back in October of 2023, I had this wild idea. What if I dedicated 2024 to 12 areas of focus? 12 areas that would guide my life and business. And I called them superpowers because I think once we master these things, they can seriously become superpowers for us. And they're game changers. Things like clarity, levity, sometimes even breaking tradition. I can tell you my resolve to actually do this was tested again and again and again this year. So today, I'm going to wrap up 2024, the Lead with Levity podcast, with a look back. A look back at how did it all go, the wins, the lessons. Maybe I'm even going to give you a little insight into some of the fails along the way. And I'm going to share how these superpowers actually showed up in some of the wildest moments of 2024. And spoiler alert, I don't think it's much of a spoiler at this point because I think it's been a year of surprises. Yes, it has. To wrap things up, we're also going to get into how to close this year with a little bit of levity, a little bit of gratitude, a little bit of inspiration for the year ahead. So grab your favorite drink, whatever you like to throw in your cup, and let's be real, maybe even that holiday snack that you've been eyeing, and let's do this.
And now, on with the show.
When you're feeling the pressure, take a moment to step back, pick up your marbles, and choose to lead with levity. Join us on the Lead with Levity podcast for fireside chats that will fill your bucket and help you get back to being the leader you were meant to be. Now here's your host, Dr. Heather Walker.
Welcome back to the Lead with Levity podcast. I'm Dr. Heather Walker, and I want to kick things off with a little walk down memory lane. Back in January, I introduced some concepts. I really sat down and I asked myself, what would I like to focus on this year? What is important? What is interesting? Where would I like to grow and see the needle move and all of that? And I came up with a framework that is not my framework at all, but it's sort of a planning framework. And if you're interested, you can go to leadwithlevity.com/resources and check out my 12 favorite problems to read more about how to do this and the process that I used. And we even have some templates on there for you. But 12 superpowers, 12 areas to focus on, to focus my world, my business, myself, so that I could approach life a little bit differently. And let me tell you, these weren't just theoretical ideas. I committed to living by these things. And sometimes it wasn't easy or pretty. Quick recap, if you're new here or if you're like me and your memory is a little bit scattered and you need a little bit of a refresher, here are the 12. So the lineup is clarity at the core, presence, being present, not the presents that you unwrap, inclusion, bringing people into the fold, helping them feel like they belong, they have a place here, authentic excellence, so doing really great work and being yourself while you're doing it, right? Not having to hold back. Voice, speaking up. I definitely had to do that several times this year to be my own advocate. And I feel very good about the outcomes of that this year. Levity, superhuman progress. So how can we get more done knowing that we have so much going on in our world today? We have energy, digital charisma, edutainment, social currency, and breaking tradition. I'm not going to go over all of these today, but I will highlight a few that really stood out to me this year. First is clarity. I'm an IO psychologist. It stands for Industrial Organizational Psychologist. I'm basically someone who helps people love their jobs, someone who helps leaders create environments where people can do their best work, someone who gathers feedback from the team and reports that back up to leadership. I've worn a lot of hats over the years, y'all. I've done a lot of things, y'all. Good things. But this year, I realized that my true passion, the thing I'm both good at and I love doing, is helping people fall in love with their jobs and showing them what's possible in their careers. And that clarity really shifted everything for me because I've been asking myself, okay, what do you want? What do you want? Because whatever you want, you will get. You just have to declare it. I went all in with workshops, coaching, assessments, programs designed to give people more joy and direction in their work. And I'm proud to say that Lead with Levity won not one, but 2 Brandon Hall Excellence Awards this year. We won a silver award for talent management and a bronze award for human resources. And these were for our onboarding and career development programs that we've been delivering across the nation with companies like P&G and Indeed. And, as I look back and we collect feedback along the way, right? One of my favorite moments from this year was hearing from someone who attended one of our programs. Here's what they said. They said, "This was an awesome experience. I historically haven't been the best at taking the time that I need for personal development. So when I was invited to this event, I made a very intentional choice to prioritize it because it seemed like a unique opportunity. And I'm so glad that I did. I'm walking away with new connections, a clearer picture of my values, myself, and what I want for my future, and clarity." Oh, I didn't say it. Those weren't my words. That person wrote it down. Clarity on how to communicate my needs to my manager and mentors. What did I say? Set your intention. Your intention is everything, and it will start to show up in your life. So I'm so glad that we've been able to drive clarity for others this year. Hearing things like this reminds me why I do what I do. And if you've been sitting in your chair all year going, I really wish that I could revamp onboarding. I really wish that I could help the top people here see that they really do have options here. I want you to holler at me. Send me a DM. Let me know. So that's clarity. Another area that I want to talk about is levity. Levity is one of my favorite areas to just kind of mull over and think about how I can bring more of that into my life, more of that into the workshops that we deliver and the presentations, the keynotes, things like that. But this year, y'all, I felt like it got tested over and over and over again. I've had years where laughter just came easy. The year was just one of those years where you're like, oh, we're just up. We're flying high in the sky at all times. And if I need a little boost, I can just throw on some comedy. Everything feels lighter. We're good to go. I have my boost. But this year in particular, let me tell you, it wasn't like that at all this year. And comedy alone was not enough. I started the year really strong, but as the months went on, it felt like we were starting to take some L's, both in business as well as personally. I travel constantly, and while I love the work that I do, the mental stress of trying to be on for everyone all the time was wearing me down. And then came the health issues. So I started I'm going to tell you all this. Maybe you can relate. I started coughing all night, like all night. And it was weird because I'd wake up, my voice was a little bit hoarse, sore throat, and I was losing my voice more frequently. Like it was like this thing that I was just always afraid that if I spoke a little bit too much, it was going to just walk out the door on me. And I would tell myself, at first I'd be like, it's fine. Deep voices are kind of sexy, right? And I tried to power through, and I usually was fine. But I remember there was this one workshop where I tried to power through a 2-day workshop with my voice. Really, it was hoarse. It was messing up. And it was going away. I didn't even make it through the whole workshop. Luckily, I had a co-facilitator there, so we didn't drop the ball. In fact, it went really well. But I kept telling myself, it's fine. I can keep talking, no problem. My voice got a little squeaky. I can keep talking, no problem. My voice got a little bit like, it started to sound like that. And I said, okay, maybe I should just sit down. Maybe it's time for some tea. But guess what? It'll come back over the weekend. It'll be fine. But you know what? It wasn't fine. And it didn't. I actually lost my voice for an entire month. Summer months, right? It wasn't a good time to lose my voice. And don't you know how hard it is to fuss at someone when you don't have a voice? I was writing notes down on pads to the point where I downloaded this AI speech app that would talk for me. But guess what? I found out that she was even sassier than I'll ever be. And let's just say that I think I started some arguments with my AI voice that I was not ready to enter into. Let's just say that. And when it came back and I was like, okay, let me go to the doctor and see what's going on with this, because it didn't ever fully come back. Yeah. I learned that my voice issues were actually tied to my stomach, which was tied to stress. And that stress, well, it was toxic in ways that I didn't even realize. So I got to a point where I realized that Levity was more than just a nice to have for me. I actually recognized that it was a need to have. I prescribed myself laughter because stress isn't just mental, it seeps into every part of your body. So this year, I relearned to laugh. I relearned how to take joy in those small moments. Not because everything was fine, because there were lots of times this year when nothing was fine. I learned to laugh because I needed to. I needed to be okay, and that's what I needed to be okay. And then the third area that I want to kind of highlight today personally is the concept of breaking tradition. So this one is interesting. I didn't expect to need it as much as I did. This year, my family and I, after I lost my voice and everything, I think right after that, we left all the noise, all the routine behind, and we spent a month living and working in Costa Rica. I know, it was a struggle, y'all. It was such a struggle. We stayed in this modest condo. We traveled around the country. We went on little adventures every day. We didn't know the language. We really didn't know the language, but I can tell you, I know how to say buenas now. I'm not going to say buenos dias. I'm going to say buenas. We didn't know the language, and we didn't stay at a fancy resort. We weren't being wined and dined, but we were actually happier. I didn't realize how much the daily noise of life back home, the emails, the schedules, the social media, the back-to-back meetings was creating so much extra pressure in my mind. And being in Costa Rica reminded me that sometimes to really grow, you actually have to step outside of your comfort zone, step outside of your normal routine, and embrace a simpler way of life. One of the things that we did there that I would encourage everyone to do is we had Adventure Wednesdays. We would just get in the car and we'd drive. We'd go to a volcano. We'd go to a local waterfall. We would go to the beach because you can see all of that within an hour drive. So if I had a light schedule that day, it was, all right, everybody, we're getting in the car and we are going on a wild adventure. And I was the driver, and the roads there are mountain roads, and whew, Lord, I'm glad that I'm still alive. Let me just say that. I would encourage everyone to participate in Little Wednesday adventures. I don't have access to a waterfall here. I don't have access to a volcano here. I don't have access to a mountain here or a beach. But guess what? I can still do small things, small and big things, to bring a little bit of variety into my life. And that's what makes the week special. That's what makes it feel exciting. If you're not excited by anything, of course you're going to start to feel down and sad, because guess what? Nothing new is happening. So, off of the soapbox there. So those are just a few of the superpowers that stood out for me this year. Each one came with its own set of lessons and challenges and surprises. But enough about me. I want to talk a little bit about what happened out there in the world, especially in relation to this. Because if 2024 taught me anything, it's that life is never boring. So there's an area in particular that I want to kind of highlight and shine a light on, which is AI and technology. This year has been a roller coaster of so many amazing advancements, jaw-dropping stories. AI and virtual reality have been stealing the spotlight, and while they've given us plenty to be excited about, they've also kind of raised some eyebrows, and not in a good way. Let's start with virtual reality goggles. Now, don't get me wrong, these things are absolutely incredible. You put them on, and you're magically transported into a game, a classroom, even a virtual office. Can you imagine single people going on a date, putting on your virtual reality glasses, your virtual reality contacts, and all of this information pops up about the person on the other side of the table? Salespeople, can you imagine having ChatGPT feeding you lines to say in the middle of your conversation? I could totally see that happening within the next 10 years, which is amazing to me. But here's the catch. They're starting to raise some serious health concerns, at least as they are right now. People are reporting everything from eye strain to motion sickness, and there are even questions about how these goggles might impact kids' development if they use them too much. It's like we created this amazing tool, but we're still trying to figure out how to use it responsibly and what kind of impact that's actually going to have on humans, because humans aren't designed to live like this. Honestly, let me just say it the way it's supposed to be. Humans aren't designed to live like this. So we're still trying to figure out, are we doing harm with these tools, with this tech? And where is the balance, right? It's kind of like when the internet became really popular and it felt like the wild, wild west out there. And we had to add in regulations and safety and different things, put some boundaries around it. Cell phones. Before the smartphone, people weren't glued to their phones in the same way. After the smartphone, we're talking about screen time. We're talking about well-being and making sure you're turning things off because it could give you headaches and it could affect your attention span and all of this. So it's very similar. I'm sure in the near future, we'll have more guidelines. We'll have more data and more information to guide that. I'm not worried, not even a little bit. Another situation that happened this year. This was a little bit of a controversy between Scarlett. Is it Scarlett Johansson or Johansson? Scarlett Johansson and OpenAI. So apparently they went to Scarlett and they asked if they could use her voice for one of their chatbots. And she said, no, thank you. But then out of nowhere, this voice that sounds exactly like hers popped up on their app. And I can tell you, the voice itself is amazing. It's like smooth. It's the voice everyone wants to have. It's so nice. But as you can imagine, she was pretty upset about this because she didn't give them permission to do it. And it seemed like they cloned her voice. And it sparked some conversation about who actually owns your voice in the age of AI. Obviously, this is my voice. It's coming out of my body. This is mine. But once I record it and it's out there on the internet and I've signed some super long list of terms and conditions, does that mean that some company can now take it, clone it, and use it to sell stuff? Where does the line get drawn? It's a little interesting, and it'll be interesting to see where the law sort of falls with that one in particular. And then another one that I want to highlight is one of my favorites of the year. It's AI grannies who talk to scammers. Yes, AI grannies who take down scammers. Some ethical hackers created these AI personas, the video as well as the voice, and they sound like these sweet little old grannies. And when a scammer calls, trying to get your information, trying to get you to give access to your computer so that they can come in and assist you and give you tech support and all of that. Well, when a scammer calls, they get connected to one of these little old grannies. And she keeps them on the phone forever, for as long as they will stay on with her. And she'll ask things like, oh, what's a Bitcoin? Does it come, in a casserole dish? And it's just really outlandish, ridiculous stuff. And the scammer might start off thinking, okay, this is going to be such an easy target. And meanwhile, they're just on the phone with this AI person, which is great because for every minute that they're on the phone with an AI, they're not scamming someone in real life. So it's brilliant. It's one of the most creative things that I've seen this year. And I love that they're using tech to fight back in this really silly kind of way. So when you look at it all, VR, AI voices, even these AI grannies, can't help but think, wow, what a time to be alive. We're surrounded by technology that's changing how we work, how we play, even how we protect ourselves. But here's the thing. As cool as all this tech is, it's a reminder that we still need to stay grounded. And at the end of the day, it's not just about what AI can do, it's also about how we can use it to make life better and maybe even a little bit funnier. And speaking of making life better, I want to talk about how we can wrap up this year with some levity and gratitude. Because let's be real, the holidays can be a lot. The travel, the cooking, the debates at the dinner table. And this year, the debates at the dinner table are going to be lit. But this year, I am challenging you. I'm challenging you to bring some levity into the chaos, right? So for example, let's say Uncle Bob decides to turn Christmas dinner into a TED Talk about politics. Hit him with a curveball. Ask him if he's tried VR. Ask him if he's heard about these AI grannies. Pick up your phone and open up the ChatGPT app and start talking and show Uncle Bob what it can do. You will blow his mind and you will both learn something new and maybe even get a laugh out of it. Another tip is take a moment for yourself. I know it's tempting to try to be everything for everyone, but guess what? You don't have to. Whether it's sneaking off to watch your favorite comedy show or just taking a walk to clear your head, give yourself permission to pause. And when we're talking about pausing, I also want to talk about presents. And no, I'm not talking about the presents that you wrap up or that you unwrap with some gift wrap. No, I'm talking about presents, right? How you show up. I know it's cliche, but the holidays really are about the moments. That quick laugh with your kids, that hug from your mom, even that random conversation you had with the stranger in line at the grocery store. I talked up some lady in the line at Joann Fabrics the other day, and it was a holiday line. We were in that line for a very long time. I found out about her kids. I found out about her hopes and her dreams. I found out a lot of information. I came very close to getting her number. You never know who you're going to meet if you are open to it. So this year, try to soak those moments in. Put the phone down. Let the emails wait and just be where your feet are. Before we close out, I want to take a moment to say thank you. Seriously, thank you. Whether you've been listening to this podcast from day one or if this is your first episode, you've been a part of something truly special this year. You've made this journey worthwhile, and I am so grateful to have you here. And as we move into 2025, I want to challenge you to just think about, as we move into 2025, I want to challenge you to think about which superpower you want to focus on and give yourself permission to lean into it. You don't have to master everything all at once. Just take one step and then the next and see where it takes you. Progress doesn't have to look perfect. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's slow, but it's still progress. And that's what's important. And if 2024 taught me anything, it's that we're all capable of so much more than we realize. You already have everything that you need to rise to the challenge, to create the life that you want, to lead with levity, even when things get tough. So, as you head into this next year, my wish for you is so simple. Embrace what makes you special, what makes you you, because that's your superpower. Use it to create joy, to connect with others, to grow, to make this the best year yet. Thank you for an amazing 2024. I can't wait to see what we build together in 2025. Until then, keep leading with levity, and I'll see you next year.
Thanks for tuning in to the Lead with Levity podcast. To get resources mentioned in this episode and find out what we're all about, check us out at leadwithlevity.com.